morning, good morning. Now, I have been talking about my guest lineup for the longest time, and people say we need an expert, Ankey. You are talking too much. Give us the facts. Atemo is here. You've seen him in different shows talking about things that most of people don't talk about, and he's always very straight to the point. So if you're going to feel attacked, this is the show. To just leave your comments and, of course, leave your questions. I'm sure he's very open to answering questions. Usually he is very open. So just help me welcome CJ Atemo to the studios. Karibu sana.
Santa, how are you doing?
Well, I'm actually glad you made it.
Yes, I am glad as well. Thank you for having me.
And a lot of viewers are probably thinking, wait, just ask him instantly what he feels about the age gap. Would you marry somebody younger? Yes, for you being a man, way younger than you.
Well, I would.
You would?
I would. Of course, that has to be with various variables, because I'm married right now, so I'm fine. But in another setup, yes, I would. I think what matters is how the two of you are able to play your roles in each other's lives.
Okay.
Yeah.
How you each play your roles in each other's lives, not just the other person's life or your life. It's a...
Yeah, see, it's actually easier for a man to marry somebody who's younger.
Yes.
Because of the role that the man plays. Generally, when you're a husband, you're a lot of things. And one of those that we don't like talking about is you become a father to the person that you have married. You have interchanged roles with their father.
Yeah.
So, well, I watched the segment before where the lady kept her name, the man changed.
Yes.
But basically why you would even just change names and move from Ombat to somebody else is because that person has taken over the responsibilities your father would, which is they will protect you. They will be your safe place. They will be your source of strength. They will be your leader. They will take over headship in the sense of responsibility and vision and direction. So they play a role of a father.
Yeah, that's a new way of looking at it. Most of the times, especially for most feminists in the time that feminism was radical, it was about you people taking power from us. It was about patriarchy. If you look at it the way you're saying it, it makes a little bit more sense. So if you feel it, talk to me on Facebook. I will ask you another major question we're asking this morning before we go into personal development. People have issues with people marrying. The couple that left here was interculture, marriage. And being an African from an African background, we do know what it means to have a different culture, a different race, a different religion. Would you marry, I know you're married, would you marry someone from a different race? Would you mind to start with?
I think, most of those are fears that people have. Most of those decisions are guided by fears. When it comes to interreligion, that's different because those are values. Those are belief systems that vary. But when it comes to matters like of race or another ethnicity or something, most of them are the fears that people have.
Okay.
Their way of doing things, our way of doing things. So the truth is, we are not who we used to be before, even culturally. We are not Puritans in culture. Anybody who is brought up in Mount Kenya today is not observing what they were observing there in the 70s. Anybody brought up at the lakeside or at the coast, they're not completely Puritans in that. Culture evolves, and it is very dynamic. Where two people are willing to work through it, they can always thrash out the areas of culture that they have a bit of friction on. Yeah.
I like that. Now, I was trying to bring in the viewer in the aspect of CJ Atemo here is an expert, but he's willing to go that far and just give us some of his own personal opinions. We want you to talk about general matters. We respect that very importantly. Now, let me talk about personal development. I know a lot of people say, but personal development is just matter psychology. Well, trust me, we just want to hear from CJ Atemo what personal development is and aspects of personal development before we now delve into how this has play in relationships.
In everything, and all right, I'll start with the context of relationships. Like when you get into a relationship, you're bringing in yourself. It's like when a merger is happening, two companies will come together. They've got to understand what are their assets, their liabilities. They've got to understand their systems and their structures. They will want to bring those two together. Now, if you don't even know what you have. If you don't even know what you're worth, when you come to the table, you will never know whether you are receiving less or not. In personal development, you are actually responsible for taking care of the only person that you can be responsible for, and that is you. You will never change your partners, you'll never change friends, you'll never change other people, but you're responsible for the growth and the changes that you will have. So where do you want to go in life? Whom do you want to become? You can't just wish that. And you can't just be waking up every day and going out by chance. Perhaps something will happen. You've got to be very deliberate. In the same way we would have corporate visions and we would have national visions, you've got to have a personal vision. What is it that you're living for? What do you want to achieve? What are your timelines? How do you want to get there? What do you need to get there? What do you have? What don't you have? When you look at all of those things, then the intentionality to become who you need to become is what we call personal development. So it comes in the various aspects. So probably, your spiritual life, mental, emotional, intellectual, physical. You want to be well. All of that then gets engrafted in there.
I mean, that is really wide. And when you talk about personal development, it means you have to be whole. Yes. Before you get into, I hope I'm getting that right, to get into a relationship, you have to build yourself, work on yourself. Even if you're not whole, there should be something going on with you.
Yes, you've got to understand, see, you're managing yourself.
You're managing yourself?
Yes, you're managing yourself. You're getting into a merger. Yes. You're managing yourself. So what are you bringing to the table?
What are you bringing to the table? Now, we're talking about interracial, relationships. Before we look at the intergenerational, let's take a look at interracial. Race means different cultures.
Yes.
Means religion is different. Means they
sometimes.
most of the times though. Right. So this is your three aspects of personal development, either being, actually being influenced. Right. So I am really curious, just like most young people are, or maybe older people, what then would it be detrimental? Would it be more, detrimental than constructive to be in this kind of relationships? What are the pros and cons of being in an interracial relationship for your own personal development in all the three aspects that you mentioned?
I think, you've got to look at, do you have a common vision? Okay. Do you have a common vision? Are you trying to go the same direction in life? If you want to go to Mombasa and the next person wants to go to Kisumu, you obviously are not going to go anywhere. So it doesn't even start with how you feel with each other. Okay. That may bring the attraction and make you want to hang around each other, but can you go together? Because marrying is a journey. It means you're taking a journey together. So will you take a journey together? No, you can't. If your visions have disparity. The next thing you've got to look at are your values, and that then will take care of most of the things like your spirituality and the cultural beliefs, your values. Do you share values or not? If you don't share values, see, most of our decisions are based on the values that we have. Whether you will lie or not, steal or not, cheat or not, are based on the value system. They're not based on whether the other person will monitor you or whatever. No. So if you don't share values as well, it just will not work. Now, where the vision is common and where the values are shared, mostly and generally shared, it is easier to work out that relationship. Yeah.
Nice. So what we're hearing here is, despite your race, your religious, affiliations or political, it is the values and the visions. That's what I'm picking here. Now, for a long time, I've got a chance to ask you this question. When people are choosing a partner, they say, oh, you need to find the right partner. Oh, there are people who are not good for you. Right. Oh, you need to get your Mr. Right. There's a wife material. Some people also say there is no Mr. Right, just get your Mr. Left, drag him back this way. So really, is there any good person, or how do you work around really getting your person? How do you know this person? I know there's the vision and everything, but from the onset, it's not very easy to tell that, is it?
It's not easy, but again, when you start setting up those preconditions, then it's going to be a very tedious journey. I think the thing is, you begin by connecting at a personal level as a human being. Then you begin to see all these other virtues that you want in the other person. So I'll meet Ankey, and then as we're hanging out, I begin to notice, wow, I love the way she smiles. I love the way she's energetic. I love the way she's all of this. I don't come and meet you and immediately begin to do a screen test on whether you're a wife material or not. The moment we have those preconditions, it becomes a lot of work. So people need to connect simply at a human level and then begin to flow. You will see the things in this person that will capture your attention.
Yeah.
Then that will draw you to beginning to think like, okay, I think that we can actually move this friendship or this relationship to the next level.
Nice.
Yeah.
You know, I was watching some couples, interracial couples, and I had this one couple say, when they were asked, "How do you feel? How do you feel when people look at you when you walk together?" And they said, "You know what? I don't even think we are different races. I think before anything, we're a human race."
Yeah.
I think that's what you're saying. Now, in a relationship, I want to understand. People are trying to understand, why is it so important for me to develop myself in a relationship? In that, how does that actually make the relationship better, me working on myself?
Well, because as I said, I bring myself into my relationship.
Yes.
The better I am, the better version my wife will receive, or whoever partner. So the better you become, and if you're whole emotionally, for example,
yes,
you will treat them a bit better. There will be less of abuse. There'll be less of insecurities. Because you see, there's a way that your emotions also spill over to the other person. When you're unstable, you most probably will destabilize the other person. When you're always anxious, that anxiety will spill over to them as well. So your state affects the other person. When you're stressed out, they will inadvertently get stressed out, because you may go into things like silent treatment, or you may just do things like disappearing, so you're not talking for a while, or you've gone away for a very long time. It affects the other person psychologically as well. When you're not okay, when you're physically not well, it affects them as well, because they're in your space. When you're not okay financially, when you're not making good decisions, when you're in debt, it affects the other person as well. Somehow they have come into both your assets and your liabilities.
Nice.
So it is important for you then to do the best that you can to make yourself well and whole, and especially in the areas that you can. So personal development will help you have a better perspective of life, have a broader view of life. As you're growing, most of the time we think about growth in terms of money. But if you grow financially and you're not growing mentally or emotionally, you could be growing financially,
yes,
but then you're very abusive because then you think your money is everything to your partner. Yes. You could actually turn them into anything because you've got the money, because you're not growing emotionally. You may be having traumas that you never dealt with from your childhood, and what is normal for you may not actually be normal everywhere else, and you hold on to that thinking that this is normal. My father used to shout at my mother, so I need to shout at you. Or my mother used to throw stuff at my father, so I need to do that. That's the normal. So in the growth, you unlearn certain things.
Nice.
And you relearn certain things, and you learn new things so that you can make your relationship work.
I like that. I like that you affect your partner pretty much directly. And sometimes these people are projecting, say, you are lazy, you're selfish. They do not really know. It's the reflection of themselves. I'm getting that point this morning. I know we sometimes date narcissists. We meet these people and they really don't get the reason to work on themselves. So I'm trying to figure out, for somebody who's in a relationship, and first we'll talk about the signs that this relationship is not good for my personal development. First just help us see those signs, because somebody's in a relationship but they're thinking it's their fault, that they're not changing careers, it's their fault that they're not really being better parents. How is the checklist? How do you know the partner I'm with could not really be? Because people are good at saying we're in the same vision. Let us, open an account together. All these things are said. But how do I know which is the inner eye of checking, this is not the right place for me?
Well, I don't know whether, let me not go that direction first. Let me begin with the place of the couple themselves,
Yes.
just in the place of personal growth. You'll always see that. For example, if you were married to or dating somebody who is at that particular point financially challenged, you will look at what is their work ethic. Do they really want to go out there and do something? Or are they comfortable being in the place that they are in? How do they value information or knowledge that would change their financial status? It's the same even for somebody who has dealt with trauma in the past, has had emotional issues. How do they relate to or respond to information that could actually make them better? If they're always defensive about things that could change them, then you know they don't want growth. If they're always resisting things that could change them, you know that they don't want growth. Anybody can be broken,
yes,
but then they need to want to be made whole. You have to see the desire and the drive for the person where they acknowledge, okay, I think I have a problem in this area and I need help in this area. That's somebody who is really into personal development and growth. So they're willing either to talk to somebody, go for therapy, go for classes. They want to know they can offer themselves as a
Yes.
volunteer somewhere, go and work just to earn something. So those are some of the things that you begin looking at. What is the attitude that this person has towards the areas of their deficiency? If the attitude is that one of they're always defensive and everybody's to blame and people are just, hating on them and people don't understand them, then this person will never grow beyond here. It is going to be a frustration somewhere.
Wow, I hope you guys are marking those points and checking your spouses and checking yourselves as well. That was very detailed. Now, somebody's asking, there are moments of personal development where you feel, well, this is a narcissist. I'm talking about extremes.
Okay.
You want to break off. We've already seen this is what the situation is. How do I break off? How do I end this? And just without this, because sometimes the effect would overlap to you, because some are narcissists, some actually just go to your workplace and make sure your work is done. How do you politely end relationships and just start over? Because I know we have to talk about relationships and guys are stuck in very many relationships. Someone needs to develop themselves, but they first have to break off. What is this process like?
Well, that varies a lot. Again, because you said there are people who are very extreme.
Yes.
And probably by the time you're relating with this person, you have made some level of judgment of what they're able to do.
Yes.
So you will know probably one time you said, I need a break, and you saw them break the TV. So that was their idea of the break.
Yes.
So if I get out, then they're going to do something more drastic. When you have somebody like that, then you must involve third parties.
Okay.
You have to involve third parties. Otherwise, you will get hurt in there. But it's got to be very progressive. You can't just wake up and go.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, because you also have got to anticipate that they're going to come back after you. So you've got to involve third parties, and the third parties may be your parents, it may be the law, especially if you think that this person could really get harmful. It could be the law. And some of the discussions, even around the breakup, should be in the witness of other people, where you're saying, I have tried and this thing is not working and I would like to go, and I don't want you to come after me, or
Yes.
something like that.
Yes.
So that we don't hear statistics of
Yes.
somebody who was later on pursued and hurt and killed. But if the person is generally like not violent and things like that, you can actually talk to them. You tell them, look, I've tried to work out on this, so I feel that it is hindering my growth, or it is hindering your growth, and probably we need to take time away from each other and try to review things and then see whether we can pick it up later on. The reason why I didn't go straight into, people leaving is my beliefs.
Right.
So I don't want to give people a blanket reason
Yes.
to just wake up
And
and be leaving. There are extreme cases where you've got to leave. Violence is one of those. That's an extreme case. A lot of abuse is one of those. Disagreements may not be the reason why you leave the marriage.
yeah, because it's almost always there.
Yeah, and then
Yes.
children are not the reason why you should stay in the marriage as well. So
Okay.
even in a case where there are children and you feel you're at risk, or even the children are at risk, you can still leave and find a way, whether you're going to go with the children or the children will stay. So there are a lot of variables there before you can make a decision.
And I hope people are actually listening and finding their place and what they can do. Now, there's this something about dating somebody. I've met people who have said, well, I like you a lot, but your personality is not my kind of thing. All right? Or I like him a lot, but his personality is off. How is this personality connected to relationships and ultimately personal development? Because I don't get it.
Well, again, it comes back to the things like how they will be making decisions, how they will be behaving, how they will treat you is totally dependent on a few things, including their personality, who they will be. Okay. These are preferences, Ankey.
Yes.
I may be the person who just wants a quiet person around me. Then I'm feeling like you're too loud. So you're not bad, but I'm feeling like you're too loud. You're all over the place.
Wait, CJ, why do I feel attacked? And I said through this interview at some point I will feel attacked. It just happened.
And
it's all right.
Then there are people who, sometimes I feel that sometimes we also hide under personalities, just dealing with our insecurities. For example, I may be this person who, in my mind, I'm thinking that if I have a wife or a girl, she needs to be quiet, she needs to be very submissive, low-key and stuff. Then I see you all over the place. You're this very vibrant person all over the place, hugging people, smiling with people, talking to people, greeting everybody. Then I begin to use personality subtly to hide my insecurities. Where I have a problem with you, not because you're doing anything with anybody, but I'm feeling like she's supposed to be mine. So I'm becoming very territorial. So sometimes, again, what we call personality is just our ways of hiding our insecurities as well. But I don't think that personalities are cast on stone. As well. I think generally when you get to understand why somebody does what they do, why somebody behaves the way that they behave, when you just take to understand that, you may realize that probably they've not always been like that, or they are like that for a particular reason as well. There's some of the people that are privately depressed, as some people who are very loud.
Privately depressed?
Yes, but outside, they're very loud, they're very vibrant, so you could be looking at them and thinking, that's too wild for me. Yet when you meet the person, that's not who they are. They do that probably to just shield themselves from the realities of the things that they're dealing with. And nobody has just one personality,
Yeah. Oh, yes. Psychology.
Nobody has just one personality.
Yeah.
There'll just be one that is a bit more dominant, but nobody has just one personality. They flip depending on how things go.
I like that. They flip depending on how circumstances are going. So if your husband has not had breakfast today, please do not judge that he's asking for divorce. Women, I know how today he didn't even kiss my forehead goodbye. And CJ is saying, hey, I'm filing divorce.
So I'm careful with what I'm saying here.
So I'm going to read your feedback. I hear there's so many questions on social media, but as we do that, let's go down to Wanjiko's level. And we've seen a lot of stigma around, marrying someone older. You've heard of the term sponsor. Or when we see a marriage of a couple that, the looks are not very complementary. People say, si tunajua nini lipeleka huyu hapa. You've had such remarks. Huyu ni pesa tu. Ama kuna mtu anadanganywa huku, So people feel like relationships can be a way to develop yourself financially. Let's just say it as it is.
Right.
You use them for the class or the status of their family, to put yourself in a certain position. Is it just stereotype? Is it just a misdirection? Is it a myth? Are people really doing this? And probably it's okay, really, if that's their choice. How do you feel about these stereotypes and stigma that has been going around certain kind of relationships?
First of all, we can never generalize every case. Because when people get into relationships, they get into them for personal reasons. And those reasons could vary from as far as somebody wanting to advance financially to somebody else who just wants to have a father figure in their life that they never had, to somebody else trying to, get somewhere else in life. Like, I could marry somebody because I want to become a citizen of their country, whichever way. But then that does not mean that everybody does that.
Yes.
There are people who genuinely will also fall in love.
Oh, yes.
There are people who will fall in love, genuinely. And sometimes we struggle to see that because we're wondering, why is so and so in this relationship and not me? There must be a reason. It's the same thing, Ankey, where somebody will wonder, why is a young girl driving and I'm not driving? She must be having a sponsor. Some of those things have got to do, again, as I said, with our insecurities, where you don't have anybody around your life, but you're doing well, and people try to find a reason why you're doing well. But not to diminish the fact that there are also people who are very intentional about who they relate with because of the end game for them.
End game.
Yeah. They have seen, if I get this person, I will be able to get there. And that doesn't have even to be interracial. And it doesn't even have to be generational, cross-generational. No. Sometimes even among their peers, they can do that. If somebody feels that this person comes from either a place, a family, or they come from, or they've built themselves to the place where I can use them as a ladder, they'll do that. They'll do that. Selfish people are just selfish people, regardless of who they use. So we can't blame it on the cross-cultural, cross-generational. No. A selfish person will be selfish any day.
It's just who you are.
Yeah. And a sincere person will be sincere, whichever way.
Wow. Oh my God. I hope you put that into perspective properly for everyone else back at home. I want to check on social media. There's a lot of feedback. And there's a question by Mkenya Daima who says, hey, how do we identify women who are narcissists? Someone says, kawa men are suffering, kasichana karembo lakini kanavunja moyo na nyundo, mishale hadi bunduki. Okay, Mkenya Daima, thank you for that feedback. So apparently there is a boy child hurting in Kahawa Wendani. How do you identify? I don't know why he's specified that women. How do you identify women as narcissists?
I was going to say that because if somebody is a narcissist, they're a narcissist. Their gender, regardless of the gender. I think you would be in a better place to tell that. How do they respect you? It begins there, like, do they respect you? Whichever side of the divide. Now, I've got to say this, Ankey, even in the cases where people would, be spiritual and talk about women being submissive, underlying there is the word respect. That whether you're a leader or you are the one being led, both of you have got to have a sense of respect for each other. If you don't respect, then you will abuse. And that is even when you're just raising a kid. You've got to respect even that kid. It means that sometimes their views will be different from yours. Their preferences will be different from yours. They will chart a very different course for their life. And you may be feeling very strongly about what you want them to do, who you want them to become. But you have to respect the choices. You can only guide, you can only advise, you can only lead. Now, if this person is very imposing when it comes to their own thoughts and mind, they're very imposing. They never allow you to have a different thought or expression. And then they don't want you to be with anybody else out over there so that they can actually dominate and control you. That's a very dangerous place to be.
Kenya Daima, I hope you have gotten your answer. And of course, I'm seeing Tutoa Mariam. Good morning. I say, wait a minute, Mr. Right. And I'm watching all the way from Runda. Did we say this, Mr. Right? Okay. Maliko Yondi Otiende saying, talking of values, kindly ask CJ if it's true that men who do not take beer, or lethal, their second name is fornicators with high libido.
Those
this thing of mwanaume anafanya vitu tatu. Either anatafuta pesa sana, is a workaholic, or he drinks with the boys and the men, just alcoholic. The other thing is women. So he's asking if this is the truth.
It's not true. Again, this thing comes back to the thing of how we project on other people just for our own insecurities. Like, I just cannot believe that you can be all right. So I have to find something and put it on you. We can't just believe that there are men who will love their wives or men who will just take care of their girlfriends or something. We just can't believe that. Same is the other side of the coin of not believing that a girl can make her money. You rarely hear those kind of things from people who are successful.
Oh, yeah? There you have it. You
I
rarely
didn't say that.
hear those kind of things from people who are like, they're busy working on personal development.
They don't talk like that.
Yes.
These are the conversations of people who feel that something is missing in their life, and then they want to throw it out there as the truth, just to cover up for the things that they're not able to do.
I like that. Now, I hope you're following. I know we're about to wrap up this one to wind up with CJ Atemo, but remember, what are your social media handles?
CJ
Just
Atemo
as I get
all
the...
across.
So
It's
CJ Atemo across all social media platforms. If you
Right.
need more help, more questions, please reach out to CJ. Now, just to read one last feedback. Someone says we are now speaking on Wanjiko level, really. Actually directed to Shiko. So if Shiko is watching, Anasema Ojwang says, Jionge, have you let sponsors deny you healthy relationships? I'm going to ask the Shiko at home. Is the need for people who grew up without fathers driving young girls to dating older men just to have them as father figures and babe at the same time? He touched on it. Could be, I think.
Yeah, it
could be. Ukishindwa kujibu. All right, no problem. I will ask the guests. I have done that. CJ, thank you so much for coming.
Welcome.
And we do want you to come back.
And thank you
People
for
are
having
saying
us
this
today.
time was not enough. There were so many questions to ask. There was so much to analyze, and they feel we didn't do enough. So we are hoping that we can have more time next time. Will you come back?
Yes, I will.
Wow, just maybe you want to say your last remarks on the interracial relationship. Just what general view you'd have, what you'd like to say to people back at home.
I think when we begin to look at ourselves as human beings and not color, not age, we will make better decisions. If you remove all the other variables, whom would you want to be and whom would you want to be with? I think that's the basic. And it comes down to the values that you have. It comes back to the vision that you have and the virtues that you want to draw from the relationship that you're getting into.
I like that. And I'll just end by saying, someone says, like you say, love has no color. Dating a person is dating a person, not the race, not the everything else that comes with it. And we are one human race.
Right.
That was it. I don't want to say too much. There's a video I'm going to leave you with. A beautiful, beautiful wedding also coming your way, because my next guest will be here to talk about her journey and her story. But right now, just relax, take a breath, and reach out to CJ Atemo. We'll be right back. You're watching the WCW edition with Ankey, Dorice, and Good morning.